Good morning.
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 Okay. On behalf of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Branch NAACP and the affiliate units or branches in this western area, we'd like to welcome the movement here to Winston-Salem Forsyth County. I think it's only rightful that it's here with the background that we have here as our branch NAACP of leading the way. And I'd like to welcome Reverend Barber, our state conference president, and our national spokesman here today. It seems as though he's not a visitor here, and I think he operates out of here. And on behalf of the Winston-Salem branch NAACP and its units, we welcome the movement forward together.
Not one step back.
Thank you.
Yes. Amen.
Good morning, Winston-Salem and North Carolina and around this wonderful country, the United States of America. We want to welcome each and every one of you to a historical moment. Winston-Salem is now our Selma. We want you to know that I am Councilmember Dee Dee Adams of the North Ward, and right now in Winston we are having community forums that not only engage but educate and enlighten our constituents as to the history of the Voting Rights Act. We don't want people to know not just what we're doing now, but what we were doing then. This is a march for a historical moment for our people. We're having them at all of the wards in the city of Winston-Salem. It is a nonpartisan event, so everybody can come to learn their history. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Right. You can't continue to do what you're doing and not feel like voting impacts and affects everything that you do. Everything from education, everything from your medical issues, everything from your groceries, everything for your housing, everything that's a part of your life. Right. If you think that you don't want anything to do with politics, then politics will have something to do with you eventually. Again, we want to welcome you. We hope that you will look online, go to the website of the Moral Monday March, and find where these ward meetings are happening throughout the city. We had one last night in the Northeast Ward that had over 60 attendees. Again, people are hungry to know what this is all about. And it's okay, because we're here to teach you. I want to introduce to you the ones of you that already know our great leader, the Reverend William Barber, NAACP.
In true Moral Monday fashion, I want to ask everybody to step up close. Come on in, come on in. And I want that young lady right here. I want the real reason. The real reason right there. She's not a leader of tomorrow, she's a leader of today.
That's right, that's right.
And want to thank all of you. Rob, take this from me. For coming. Let me say that this morning I'm so thankful to our president here in this area for the work that the branch has done, the work that the great organizers has done. We've had an organizing team of over 100 people who've been organizing for the last couple of months. So thankful to be joined by our executive director of the North Carolina NAACP, the Reverend Michelle Laws, who's here with us, and all of the persons who've been gathering, our co-chairs who've been working together. I want to do three things this morning. First of all, I want to be clear about what this case is about.
That's right, that's right.
Secondly, I want to go through the logistics so that the media, you know all of the things that are going to be happening over the course of the next few days, and then take any questions that you may have. On July the 13th, 2015, 24 days before the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Voting Rights Act.
That's right.
In 1965. The federal courts will begin to hear North Carolina NAACP versus McCrory. This is the North Carolina NAACP's lawsuit to reverse North Carolina's unconstitutional and immoral voter suppression law.
Yes.
We call it the monster voter suppression law.
Yes.
It is not a voter ID law. It is a monster voter suppression law.
Yes.
The law is entitled HB 589. What makes this law even more unjust and more immoral, and many, I don't know in the media if you've picked this up, is that this law was first filed in the State House on April 4th, 2013, the 45th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King.
That's right.
Think about it.
Yes.
Please stop.
On the 45th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. King, our legislators, extremists who call themselves Republican, in the State General Assembly, decided to go on a path to assassinate voting rights in this state.
Yes.
Now, what we want media and others to be clear on is this happened prior to the Shelby decision. So we knew as early as April 2013 where our legislature wanted to go if the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act.
Yes.
On June 25th, a day that will go down in political infamy, 5 Supreme Court justices gutted Section 4 of the Voting Rights Act, which decided the formula that would allow states or jurisdictions to be under what's called pre-clearance under Section 5. Therefore, they nullified Section 5.
That's right.
What that meant is that laws could now be passed in North Carolina
That's right.
without pre-clearance. This is critical. On the 25th, after the 25th of June 25th of 2013. On that day, when the ruling of the Supreme Court came down, one of the senators, I believe Senator Apodaca, said, now that the headache has been removed. You can Google this. He equated the destruction of the Voting Rights Act as the removal of a headache, the same law that was only passed because of the blood of Medgar Evers,
That's right.
the blood of Swanner, Cheney, and Goodman, white and black and Jew, the blood of Martin King, the blood of a white woman named Viola Woosa, the blood of James Reeb, a Unitarian minister, the blood of Jimmy Lee Jackson, a veteran. He described the gutting of this law as a good thing in our state house, the removal of a headache.
Blood.
And then in less than 2 months, without any hearings, they brought HB 589 fully forward. Now let me make this clear. In April, they brought forth of 2013 the voter ID part to fool the media, because that's what they wanted you all to talk about. They didn't want you to talk about all the other provisions. So they put that out there first as the teaser.
Right.
The media got stuck on the voter ID, and then after June 25th, when they passed the full bill, the media many times still call it a voter ID bill. We knew better.
That's right.
The voter ID was bad enough because it was the worst in the country, worse than South Carolina and Alabama. But this was 57 pages of regression, 57 pages of extremism, 57 pages of turning back the clock, which meant that after the 25th of June, North Carolina and all other states in the South, but North Carolina had less voting rights protection on June 26, 2013 than we had August 6, 1965.
That's
Yes.
right. Tell it.
When we did an injunction, the courts here did not agree with the injunction, but the Fourth Circuit agreed with our injunction and said that these laws were discriminatory when it came to people of color and African Americans. When they signed this bill into law, the governor, a Southern governor, signed a law to roll back voting rights. I said a Southern governor in the South signed this law to roll back voting rights. Within 47 minutes before the ink was dry on his signature, the North Carolina NAACP filed this lawsuit.
All right.
Here are the facts. This law, Bill 589, is the first and the worst voter suppression law in the country since Shelby, and the worst thing we've seen since 1965. Wow. That's why we're litigating.
Monster.
Our voting rights were gained because people marched,
Yes.
because people died,
Yes.
because people fought.
Yes.
On the 13th, 24 days before the signing of the Voting Rights Act, we will go to trial here in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of North Carolina. Our case will argue that HB 589 violates Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act by disproportionately burdening voters of color, particularly African Americans, and thereby hurting other people like women and young people. But the purpose of the law was intentionally to dilute and abridge the voting rights and the voting opportunities of African Americans and people of color. Our lawyers, the Advancement Project, the law firm of Kirkland and Ellis has come in pro bono, one of the largest law firms in the country, as well as Irvin Joyner, our legal redress chair, and Adam Stein. We also are joined by the U.S. Department of Justice and the Southern Coalition, led by Anita Earls. We also have other partners such as A. Philip Randolph and the League of Women Voters, Latinos, churches, students, and hundreds of plaintiffs from across the state. Not only are we challenging them based on Section 2, but we're also challenging this law based on the 14th Amendment that guarantees equal protection under the law,
Yes.
and the 15th Amendment that says no state can deny, but there's one more word, or abridge
Yes. Right.
the right to vote
Yes.
of any citizen. That is the essence of this case. Why is this our Selma? Why is this our Selma? This case will determine how cases are dealt with all over this country. This case, we win, we will stop legislators from rolling back voting rights all over this country. They will understand that they cannot do this.
Yes.
They cannot. This is a serious, big deal. This is our Selma. And this case also proves why we need the United States Congress to fix Section 4 and reinstate Section 5,
Yes.
so that the states, at least that were covered after 1965, are covered with some additionally.
Right.
But this case proves what the Southern legislators will do when they do not have to go through pre-clearance.
That's exactly right.
Because if pre-clearance was in place, none of these laws would have made it through
That's right.
pre-clearance.
That's right.
In essence, the people in North Carolina should understand that we have already gone through one election cycle.
Yes.
And when these laws are proven by the court to be unconstitutional, it will mean we have gone through an election cycle using unconstitutional election laws.
Yes.
That's what that means. Now, what have they done? And what are we fighting against? Number one, they have cut a week of early voting when they know that 70% of African Americans use early voting. They eliminated same-day registration when they know an overwhelming majority of those using same-day registration were African Americans.
Yes.
They created the worst voter ID in the country. A few weeks ago, they tried to tweak it,
Yes.
but the tweak may have actually made it more confusing.
Yes.
So the judge has said it's so confusing, I'm not going to throw it out. They asked him to throw it out. He said, oh no, this case is not moot. So he's extended our ability to analyze that law, but all of the other provisions will still go before the court. They have said that no longer will out-of-precinct ballots be counted. Now for the media, they're going to be real tricky on the way they talk about it. They say, well, you shouldn't count out-of-precinct. No, for years
right.
in this state, if you happen to go to the wrong precinct, you could vote for the president or for the U.S. Senate, Now, if you wanted to vote for the person of that district, you had to find, but sometimes people go to the wrong precinct because their precinct have been changed and they don't realize. For years, it was all right in North Carolina.
That's right.
They also cut Sunday voting. And they know that Sunday voting was used heavily by African Americans and people of color. They also ended a common sense law that allows 16 and 17-year-olds to register.
Yeah.
They said, no, we don't want young people because they know that young African American and people of color students were taking advantage of that law. They also have ended straight ticket balloting.
Yes.
Straight ticket balloting, because they knew that African Americans and people of color were more likely to use straight ticket. The one place they did not touch was absentee ballot. Guess who overwhelmingly uses absentee ballot? White voters in North Carolina and throughout the country. And if there is going to be any fraud, that's where fraud would take place. The fact of the matter is, their claim of fraud is fraudulent. Let me, I said that the Duke way, the North Carolina Central way, the college way. Let me say it my grandmama's way. The claim of fraud is a lie.
Yes.
It's been statistically proven to be a lie. And for them to name HB 589 as the voter integrity law is an attempt at propaganda and deception. Now here's the last part, and I'm through. What makes this bill even more sinister in its attempt to undermine voting rights for North Carolinians, and particularly for African Americans and people of color, is that the laws that 589 rolls back were provisions that had been used in 3 or more election cycles. Here it is. In North Carolina, they didn't vote to keep laws off the books. They voted to take away from North Carolinians voting opportunities that we've already used for more than 3 election cycles. They looked at the fact that since these laws have been in place, North Carolina's voting percentage went, in the African American community, for instance, went from 44% to 70%. And North Carolina became the 4th highest per capita increase of voting in the country.
That's right. That's right.
That's why one of the judges on the federal bench asked this profound question. After listening at all the data, the history, and the analysis, he said, looking at McCrory's lawyers and Berger's lawyers and Tillis's lawyers and Moore's lawyers, I have one question. He was from South Carolina, by the way, federal judge. Why is it that you all don't want people to vote?
Wow.
North Carolina was leading the way
Yes, we were.
in voter participation.
Yes, we were.
Something we should all be proud of in a democracy, unless you don't believe that your extreme agenda can make it through public examination.
That's right.
And then what you do is you pass the extreme agenda, and then you wake up one morning and say, uh-oh, these people may not vote for me. Let's abridge and suppress the vote. But it won't work. And that's why we have come here. That's why we are doing this case.
That's right.
Now, the whole week. Tonight, as my dear councilwoman said, we have these voting right forms. This is powerful stuff. This is the best of the old and the best of the new coming together.
Yeah.
You know, this is the educate. So do you all have this media? You have copies of the agenda? Okay, we're going to make sure you get copies tonight. There's one at the MLK Recreation Center. All of them start at 6 o'clock. There's one at the Polo Park Recreation Center at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow night, there will be a report from Occupied Territory film screening by Democracy North Carolina. That will be at Winston-Salem State University at 6 o'clock p.m. And then there will be the Southwest Ward voting forum at 6 o'clock, the East Ward voting forum at 7 o'clock on Thursday, and the Southeast Ward voting forum at 7 o'clock at the Trinity Moravian Church at 7 o'clock p.m. Excuse me for mixing my words up there. Also tonight at 6 o'clock and Wednesday, we will have a special Bible study. We'll be leading at Emmanuel Baptist Church. On Sunday, we will have a Forward Together prayer and worship interfaith service. It will be at Union Baptist Church at 6 o'clock. The media is invited. It'll be a time of prayer, praise, and we will also be having a special altar time for all of our plaintiffs and our lawyers. On Monday, we will have at 8 o'clock a.m. right here, the Voting Rights March and Trial News Conference with our lawyers and plaintiffs right here. And then all during the day at Gola Memorial AME Zion Church, the Church of Frederick Douglass. We will have from 10 o'clock to 4 a.m. work sessions all day on voting rights, racial violence and criminal justice, the fight for economic justice and living wages, and building coalitions, because all of this connects to voting rights.
Yes, it does.
Then at 4 o'clock in Corpening, how you pronounce that? Corpening, I got that, Corpening Plaza. At 4 o'clock, we will begin our cultural arts and music performance and what we call movement kind of partying,
That's right.
Partying with a purpose.
That's right.
And that'll begin at 4 o'clock. And then at 5 o'clock, we will have our march starting from the plaza, coming back by the federal building. And then we will be joined here by others, and we'll go back, and then we will conclude at 6 o'clock. The march, we will have a special speak out. People from around the nation, clergy from around the nation of different faiths are coming in to be with us. I'll deliver a special message at the end of that rally on Monday. And then we will have what the judge has said, 45 hours of trial. 45 hours of trial starting on Monday until such time as we meet the judge's the direction. Are there any questions for me from members of the media?
Reverend Barber, there are going to be those on the other side who say some of these provisions that you've mentioned are really, easily handled. For instance, the no straight ticket voting, it just really means you have to punch a few more keys on a keypad, or the voter ID means, well, you just need to go and get an ID, which is easy to obtain. So what, for these arguments, what do you have to say about some of these?
Well, first of all, on the voter ID, their own lie turned around on them because they had to try to change the law because they found out it wasn't that easy. And second of all, it's not necessary. That's a new form of poll taxing. When you have to drive and pay and do all of the things, it's not free. There's a lot of dynamics in that. They say it's free. It's not free. Somebody has to pay for it, even if you go to the DMV. Then what if you live out of state and you have to get a birth certificate? And the fact of the matter is, we've never needed it. In over 200 years, the only thing we used was signature attestation. You sign your name. If you lied, you got a 5-year felony. And that, by the way, was a compromise between Republicans and Democrats. So when you look at the facts, not just the propaganda, 389,000 North Carolinians do not have the current kind of voter ID, the strict kind that the law required. 389. African Americans are 50% more likely not to have it. The law that they passed was worse than South Carolina and Alabama. It even said if you had an ID for Wake Forest University or an ID for Winston-Salem, it wasn't good enough. If you had a federal ID and didn't have a state ID, it wasn't good enough. So it was clearly a racially taught. Now they're trying to tweak it.
Yes, they are.
But we're examining the tweak because it shouldn't be done anyway. We only needed signature attestation. Now, on the issue of where you said it could be easy, I'm glad you read because that's what they say. Remember now, that's what they said in '64 about the grandfather clause. No, about poll tax. All you have to do is get the money and pay for it. It's not that hard. All you have to do is memorize the Constitution.
It's not that hard.
Not that hard. See, you'll be real careful about this language. About the fact of the matter is, it's not about it being that hard. It shouldn't be hard at all.
That's right.
That's the point. This is a democracy. This is a participatory democracy. And the Constitution, we're not talking about what they say, we're talking about what the Constitution says.
That's right.
The Constitution of North Carolina says the only qualification for voting is that you be 18, born or naturalized in these United States, period.
That's right. That's right.
Period.
That's right.
That's what it says. So this bit, and then on straight ticket, they didn't have a problem with straight ticket voting until the ticket didn't elect who they wanted.
That's right, the results.
Remember, all of this crying about voter fraud did not happen until after the election of President Obama. Let's just be real about that.
Wonder why?
You didn't, and the civil, think about it. The civil rights community has never cried voter fraud and asked for voting rights to be changed. And we know fraud took place against us.
That's right.
We just asked for equality.
That's all.
Equal opportunity.
That's all.
We knew fraud took place in the 50s and the 60s, and recently in Florida, right? But we never said change the rules. We said abide by the rules.
Right.
This crowd, as soon as a black president wins in the South, North Carolina, Virginia, and Florida,
Yes.
and breaks the solid South,
Yes.
and breaks through the white Southern, what was called the Southern strategy that was developed by President Nixon and Calvin Phillips. Once that broke through, all of a sudden, this can't be real. Remember what the legislator said, Congressman said from South Carolina? He called the president a lie. What he meant was, this is not real. This can't be happening in America. The demographics can't be changing like this. Oh, I know, fraud.
Right. The only way.
So even the claim of fraud is racist because it's been proven. There are a Republican Attorney General under George Bush did everything he could to try to find fraud and couldn't find it. So, and again, the very place that fraud might be possible in absentee balloting, they don't touch it. So it's not about it being easy according to somebody else. There's one rule: 18 born or naturalized in these United States.
Right.
And it goes to that fundamental question. Why is it, and I ask you to ask the media, why is it that you don't want people to vote? Oh, and also go to MSNBC. Pull Tom Tillis when he was Speaker of the House, when he said on MSNBC that they did not pass this bill because of fraud. He said that. He admitted it. Pull it. Or pull what the Republican extremist said in Asheville when he was asked about this bill, and he said these words: if it hurts a bunch of lazy students, so be it. If it hurts Democrats, so be it. Watch this. If it hurts blacks who want a bunch of free stuff from the government, so be it. That's on the record. Now they fired him and got rid of him real quick. But even the cameraman said, do you realize we're filming?
Right.
So that what we're talking about are the facts, not the propaganda. That's why you got to get it in court. See, out here, folk can say a lot of stuff.
That's right.
And whatever they say, but in court, we put it under the microscope
Yes.
of the Constitution,
Yes.
where we can have direct and cross-examination.
Yes.
And that's when the truth comes alive.
That's right.
Any other questions? If not, we thank you for coming. We look forward to seeing you at our forums, at the worship service, at the press conference on Monday, and at the march and the rally. We ask you to come out and continue to say North Carolina. This is about the soul of our state.
That's right.
And the soul of our politics.
Yes.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you for standing up here with me. How you doing?